Alrighty, it's the 11th day of July. My goodness. And we are well underway with the big plan. The nuclear industry has a big plan for everybody, all the species. Just bear with me. Something's not working. Let's try this. It almost worked. I'm Dana. You can call it 709-589-4406. The lines are open. Every day is like a bizarre day. Every day gets a little more stranger. It's going to be hard to get any stranger than the story tonight. I'm sure we will. The nuclear industry rarely lets us down. I don't even know where to start when it comes to this. My goodness. I don't know, what do we call this? This is a professor. Now he says the releases from the melted reactors is equal to 3 grams of sugar. So the releases from these buildings, this is South Korea, don't even... How the hell do we ever get this crazy? This crazy, and then there's like, what the hell? That was translated by a reputable major media in Korea itself into English. So if you're worried about the currents, you were so far behind the 8 ball, you have no idea. The plume covered the planet in about 19 days to 25 days, and almost all the models agree on that. So you can imagine how big the plume is when it's doing stuff like that. Well, what it left behind is crazy too. 14 prefectures were banned by 55 countries. Not that the Japanese noticed. Growing food alongside of 1-ton bags of radiation. That don't wake you up. What does, I wonder? Every time I see that, it's like, whoa, jeez, it can't be real. No, it's real. Oh my, is it ever real? They're growing food in nuclear wastelands surrounded by nuclear wastelands. And each one of those markers is a prefecture that was banned by 55 countries for a decade. And they're a couple of miles from the forever machine for the perpetual disease factory known as Fukushima. Oh my goodness. Groceries out there going hog wild. Nobody believes me. How did I become the bad guy? No, you come from a long list of these bad people. And if Shih Tzu's little pet over there didn't die, you would still be a nobody. Fukushima plant ready for delicate fuel removal. This is 2013 when 2 of the pictures, so which one is the real picture? Apparently there's not a single journalist on the planet that can figure that one out. Why don't we see a picture of the 10 or 1,000 tanks? They've had them since 2013. Did you know the A-10 Warthog only shoots dirty bombs? Shoots dual-ram, depleted uranium, low-level radioactive material. Shoots 1.5 tons a minute. During the Gulf War, they admit to, 750 tons, which a Japanese physicist at a Hamburg conference in Germany calculated was equal to 44,000 Hiroshima's worth of background fallout radiation. It's catastrophic, the numbers we're talking about. It's 1.5 tons a minute. They like to use it on school buses and churches and malls, apartment buildings. The all-American
Where I'm
boys.
standing is on top of what used to be reactor building number 4.
All-American boys. Let's get it on here. Let's give the brownies something to take home to our mamas. Racist, bigoted, prejudiced. You figured it. Fukushima's like eating a banana, according to the wonderful media, walking in sunshine, getting on airplanes. But this guy's a real work of art. 3 grams of sugar is his. Now, this is South Korea. It's for the last. So it's getting crazy in South Korea, I'll tell you that much. A group of nuclear experts, I'm pretty sure he's one of them, a society, no less, they've acknowledged that twice, so the total amount of iodine, or tritium, the last one you're worried about, but you still should be worried about it, but it's the very last one you're worried about, compared to, there's nothing in the tanks, by the way. As you'll see, the buildings were destroyed right away, so what are you talking about? The total amount of tritium included in radioactive wastewater is 2.2 grams currently, and they're going to release that over 40 years or so, 40 years. So the KAIST, science outweighs irrational reasoning. And he's a professor, in case you didn't know. The author is professor at the Department of Nuclear and Quantum Engineering. So surely he knows it's gone. He's in engineering. Is that a ridiculous thought to think that somebody in engineering would know that these buildings are gone? Maybe, I guess. This is post-Fukushima, so. There's no room for a rational debate based on scientific evidence and facts over the wastewater. So they want you to think about what might happen, and it's hard to describe it in one sentence because it's so, what the frig are you talking about? That allegedly 2.2 grams got out of these buildings. But don't worry, they got them in tanks, 1,000 of them. Thank goodness, because, 2.2 grams. Well, what I find based on facts is that these are media from worldwide. They're claiming to be in the fuel pool of the building, reactor 4, when fuel pool doesn't exist. But let's move ahead to 2023. Then I'm wrong for saying that, right? Of course I'm right. Because you got to say it looks like this. You can't say it looks like that, because that makes them lawyers. You can't call them lawyers. That's not nice. Well, let's do the math. As painful as this is going to be for everybody, I apologize in advance. We got a poll to try to help ease our way into this. Was South Korea professor of nuclear Yun Jong-il claims Fukushima is equal to 3 grams of sugar. Evil lie. Because there was other things I was going to put there, but I was like, I shouldn't do that probably. It's an evil lie. The International Atomic Energy Agency last week released its final report on its 2-year inspection. So for 2 years, they couldn't work out that these people weren't in that building, and that the buildings look like this, and there's more than 2.2 grams got out. Apparently 2.2 grams is a big deal. It took 1,000 tanks. Thank God it's only tritium, is all I can say. Well, if they filtered everything out, the only thing they had left was 2.2 grams of tritium. How many of them tanks do they have of radiation, right? Because 2.2 grams of 1,000 tanks. So he's a professor of nuclear engineering, and he doesn't know the reactors and the fuel pools are gone. And he thinks it's like sugar. So he's probably got Alzheimer's dementia from working around nuclear. They should replace him, I think. I'm not trying to be funny or something, because I know he worked hard to be a scumbag professor, but just saying, where do we draw the line with an engineer? If an engineer doesn't know that that's oopsie-daisy, then who does? Really? Then you're just trying to be smart, Dean. And no, I'm not. I'm just asking a question, for God's sakes. For a little... Under the United Nations with the highest credence in nuclear and radiation safety. Who? Yay. Come on, man. Fukushima water discharge plan is opposed only by the Chinese government and Korea's main opposition party. Na, 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 na. Gets better, though. 1.37 million tons. They got 30 million one-ton bags of radiation picked up, but they only got 1.3 million tons of wastewater stored at Fukushima. Approximately 2.2 grams of tritium in 1,000 tanks. I've done the math on it, and it's just, these guys are a-holes. The discharge is like throwing a sugar cube of 3 grams into the sea. So it's like throwing 3 grams of sugar cubes into the sea. That's what... Woo! He's making the big bucks, that fucker. Guarantee you. He's a little demon, that guy. Just call it like it is, right? These guys are gone to war against you. You better wake up. Can you imagine what's not being translated to English? If they're saying 3 grams of sugar? I think that's the best one, isn't it? Isn't that the best one we've ever had? That's the craziest one. All of it is equal to less than 3 grams of sugar. Is that an evil, evil lie? Because I don't know what to say in response to something that ludicrous. When the Billies don't even exist, he's a nuclear engineer, and he says whatever got out is only going to be equal to 3 grams of sugar. I guess he wants to be remembered by history. Maybe. That probably makes sense. There was this crazy pro-nuclear in South Korea, man. He was batshit lunatic. He was saying it's like 3 grams of sugar cubes. No, honest to fuck you, that's what he said. The discharge is like throwing a sugar cube of 3 grams into the sea. So your concerns about the contaminated water, people like applying or worrying about the sugared Pacific. I want to go to that university. I bet you I can get a bachelor of shit of anything in a couple of weeks if I play my cards right. These guys are crazies. I've never heard that before, so thank you. That made my day, believe it or not. I've seen some pretty degenerate scum in the last decade or so in the nuclear industry, but you beat all of them, man. How is that even possible with 3 sugar cubes? We got to get like a what the fuck page on my site. Keep an eye on this creature type. Yeah, he's going places, that guy. That's probably what it was. He was trying to get another move up. Probably wants to be an astronaut or something, right? Crazies. I got to put that in my file because I haven't seen that one before. We've been at this forever. I've never heard that one. 3 grams of sugar. Cubes, no less. Wow. My goodness. Never a boring moment around these creatures, is it? Just got to admire that kind of cowardness, you know? like John LaForge. But this guy's worse than John LaForge, for goodness sakes, from Nuke Watch. This guy makes him look like a sissy. Yeah, he's going places. I'm not going to go through all of the lies. It's just what's the point, right? The same media put out dispelling wild rumors and public anxiety at the same time. Double hitter, I like it, man. 2 scumbags in one go. That's crazy. They're gone to war against you. And so Korea. They're gone. These people, that professor I just showed you, who we have the distinct pleasure of having a poll about, a South Korean professor of nuclear, Yun Jong-il, claimed that Fukushima was equal to 3 grams of sugar cubes. An evil, evil lie. I do believe so. The author is the former dictator of the Division of Radiation Transport and Waste Safety of the scumbag International Atomic Energy Agency, the enemy of humanity. Enemy number 1 for humanity, 8 million species, is the International Atomic Energy Agency and its enablers like this creature. Well, the opinions of experts based on scientific evidence are being ignored. Nice touch. Biased views of people without expertise in the field are circulating widely. He's really special, scumbag, this guy. He got a brag, of course. In 2011, January, he was appointed director of the Division of Radiation Transport Waste Safety of the International Atomic Energy Agency. So he paid his dues along the way. I wonder how many he killed in these travels. While dealing with the nuclear meltdowns in Japan, he oversaw the safety issues. This is one of the people that we should have war crimes tribunals for. Exactly like this person. In November 2013, he participated as the deputy head of the IAEA investigation team as the contaminated water management and got involved in writing and overseeing the investigation report itself. So he's another Jerry Thomas, another Kathleen Higley, another Rod Adams. Credibility to the official final report, International Atomic Energy Agency inspection team. We had a poll last night. Should we ban the IAEA from Fukushima? We have an overwhelming, over 90%. Yes. The integrity of the UN body. So the UN body is saying it's equal to 2.2 grams. That's where it's coming from, right? Oh, they got a nice picture of him. Because this is South Korea opposition party shooting down the dumping. He's got to go around all these countries that are voting no and persuade them to vote yes. It's really easy. You just got to go over there and see what he needs for a kickback and everything is good. So this is directly related to the integrity of the United Nations body. They're feeling the heat. There's an interesting statement. That they're out there claiming that there's no meltdown. They're out there claiming sorry about that. Because I've been posting that in a couple of files just so I don't lose track of it down the road. I wanted to grab those pictures, that one and that one, because this is what the big whoop is all about. If you want to talk about integrity, which is something they don't have, I can guarantee you, the credibility. Now they're gonna put a permanent office there, but they've only been there 4 times in 12 years. But they're gonna put a permanent office there. Now that they got covers over this and they got killed enough homeless people to make it, they're not actually going to man this. So They'll do a press conference from the green screen once a year, maybe. So they refuse to acknowledge. Now they're saying that never happened. Well, I've been saying it all along. And
My understanding is on top of what used to be reactor building number 4. The whole of this building was blown apart by a huge explosion.
We are here inside Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that was severely crippled during the earthquake and tsunami of 2011.
Thank you.
Of the decommissioning work taking place here in Reactor 4.
At the end of our tour, we were checked for radiation exposure. In 4 hours, I received the equivalent of less than a chest X-ray.
1,500 highly radioactive fuel rods inside this pool. They've got to move them outside of this reactor.
Currently. These are celebrities, Dana. You can't say nothing bad about them. They love you. And you've done the same thing for Reactor 3. That's how much they love you. They sacrificed it all just for you. Look what the homeless have done. It's amazing. Too bad we ran out of them. Could have done a better job. We had got another couple of 100,000 of them. They said they sacrificed 260,000 people to build the ice wall. Did so. Don't believe me, do you? Okay. Luck would have it, I can back up my shit. Because it's important. You can do that, right? You know what I mean. But can I really back up my shit? Oh, yeah. I can so. One more. Yeah, these guys are crazies. Let me go backwards. We got Boris Johnson swigs. I can play the video, but it's pretty disturbing, so I'm not going to do it for you. Boris Johnson swigs a can of peach juice from Fukushima. He never even wet his lips. He didn't even know what it was. Nectar, he said, nectar. And similar to 2013, I think it was, this Japanese MP drank what they claimed was Fukushima water under pressure from journalists. So this fight's been going on a very long time. But when it comes to the high-priced Fukushima ice wall, it flopped, of course, they hired 260,000 people, and that's equal. If you pay them each $1,240, there's no money left over to build the ice wall. Why would you build an ice wall when you can build a real wall? That didn't work. The tanks were built in 2013, 1,000 of them, and their job was to make you think nothing got into the ocean. But the original concept of the tanks was they had drilled wells around the site they could suck up water and test it for radiation. Somewhere by 2013 or whatever, they stopped saying that and claimed they were sucking it up and putting it through an ELP system. But the Riva system was the first one. It was just like the ELPs, and it didn't work until 3.5 years later, 2014 in August. The ELP system in 2014 in June still hadn't been working, and the Curry system went silent in 2013. These were three. So when we counted the tanks, we only had 450. As far as I remember, the International Atomic Energy member countries raised doubts about the professional integrity, objectivity of the reports from the International. No, nobody's raising objectivity. We're just saying you're filthy lawyers, that's all.
My understanding is on top of what used to be reactor building number.
Really? That's a pretty interesting trick. Why are you doing something like? Why is the world's media pretending they're on a building that don't exist? Why do that? Why would the world media and the universities cooperate to tell you a lie that big? Why try to convince you that it looks like the one to the right, not the one to the left? Why do that? Why did everybody join in? Why is there no descending voices? Yeah, man, it's a creepy. That's called. The plume covered the planet in 20 to 30 days. That's acknowledged by all countries. All kinds of countries. Acknowledged that. Japan is batshit crazy. Nuclear industry, even crazier. My goodness. Gotta go backwards. Hang on. Show you how crazy this is. Okay. So officially they're pretending they're in it. I played the video. Don't want me to do it again. I'll do it again. I don't care. I don't care. I'll play it 10 times in a row. Do you want me? I'll do it. Just say it. Just double dare me and I'll do it. I just hooked these little clips out of them claiming they're in a building that don't exist. And I'm like, huh. That scares the shit out of me. I don't know about you, but that frightens the shit out of me. And it doesn't you? I'll just show you a bunch of different plumes. This is cesium. There was 5 times more iodine-131. This is Neptunium-239, decays into plutonium, like 20 days. This model is based on, from NOAA, 40 days. This model is based on 20 days of radioactive fallout from the Norwegian Institute of Air Research. The buildings actually blew up. No, they didn't, Dana. I know, just hear me out, though. Fukushima is a catastrophe for every citizen of the world because radiation doesn't have any borders. Well, you never know it today, 12 years later. Here's your plutonium radioactive fallout. This is iodine-131 fallout. This is France's model based on 31 days. You're currently at 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 days. It goes up to 30 days. And then the radiation turns to fairy dust and it can't harm anybody ever again, honest to God. I heard a pro-nuclear guy tell me that. It only pulses once and then it goes away, Dana. I actually had him trying to convince me, or anybody else, in chat rooms on that one. That was pretty good, eh? I like that one. That's pretty impressive scam. No, it only pulses once and then it dies. Turns fairy dust, Dana. And the problem was they were acting serious. cesium-137 plume forecast. This is scary as shit, man. Showing 1 million to 10 million times radioactive fallout background level from all the wars they had. You know, you call it nuclear testing, right? This was a German model of dispersal in the ocean, by the way. It's doing that also, so that's handy. 6 years later, but unfortunately, after 19 days, we were in real friggin' trouble. They actually blew up. The reactors blew up. No, Dana, there's only 2.2 grams, and they're all in the 1,000 tanks, Dana. The International Atomic Energy Agency's credibility is on the line. How about this study? Did I give you enough studies yet? Is there enough models from different countries yet to have a conversation? Are you willing to have a conversation, or should I just give up? This is another model based on 16 days, so 9... Let me double check that before I finish this sentence. That's 26 days. That's 26, so that's 15 days. But it's only 11 days after the last reactor blew up. That's a pretty one, isn't it? You like that yellow color? That's not like all those other shades. I like the purple one because purple is what the color you get when you burn potassium, like bananas and potato chips, right? Purple, this is a xenon-133 radioactive fallout plume. This was another model of the xenon-133. The iodine-129 was at 220 million atoms per liter in Ottawa, Canada. 20 million particles now, of iodine-131 in the west coast of Canada. So I just showed you by the way, a whole bunch of different models and different isotopes that are, each of them are at catastrophic levels. Did the irony escape anybody? Of the enormity of that volume of information. Imagine trying to find this somewhere else. These are all different countries, models of different isotopes falling out. And they were right. We have the studies to back up these assertions. And these are all the major institutions, the shakers and movers, the thinkers, major institutions, the universities. And these models are typically 20 to 25 to 30 days max, covering the entire planet. Radiation levels over the United States at 1 million times. This is France's government model after 9 days showing it landing. And did I mention we got evidence that they blew up and that these plumes are actually, they blew up and the plumes are actually real. They're real. That's why they're pretending. That's why they're pretending they're in a building that don't exist. The world's media and universities is kind of war against you. They gave you the middle finger and couldn't care less because they know something you don't and I don't. That's for sure. That was good, eh? I got a little treat for you. Hang on there. This is a limited time collection of people. Now for just a low $26, you can get your own Fukushima Meltdowns, Calm Down Charlie, Classic Crew, neck comfortable t-shirt. Yoshida Mishata, the Tokyo Byo in Chicago, also known as Calm Down Charlie. After 10 years of stocking, he finally got his own shirt. That should make him happy. Famous one-liners, yo scammer, yo filthy liar, yo sick bastard, oh, you bastard. On the back, so on the back, we got a nice reactor 4 with the 4 filthy lawyers, the 6 scammers, the scammers and the sick bastards. Brought to you, I'd like to thank Calm Down Charlie. This picture, by the way, was a picture that Organic Slant had put together. And I thought it was quite appropriate putting on Yoshida Mashada, Tokyo Byo, Chicago t-shirt. Woo, that's up for a limited time. Definitely a collector's item. James is ordering one right now. That's so funny, man. Yoshida Mashada. Yeah, you can order yours now. The links are below the video. In the bottom of the description, you go to my site. Yoshida. And I also got long sleeve classic. You can only come in 5 colors in that one. You filthy bastard. And other famous one-liners like you sick bastard. Yoshida Mashada. So we got short sleeve summer shorts, and then for your out daily jogs and supermarket runs. Just keep going, you filthy bastard. You filthy bastard. Yoshida Mashada. So I give you all these different plume models from all these different countries, just in the hopes that you realize that they're going to war against you guys, and you're in real trouble. They're poisoning everything. Well, everybody's sleepwalking. They're out there. They're busy as shit, and they're organized. They're so organized and funded. It's sickening. And they're doing the same thing to the freshwater. They are attacking the oceans worldwide, but they're also attacking the freshwater and your farms. So, Mashida Mashada, we take them for that. So they're doing the same thing, and they're doing it, which is really interesting, actually. They're crazies. What you notice when you start paying attention worldwide is that all the farms are surrounded, or nuclear plants are built in active prime farmland. And almost every single one of them are in active prime farmland. All of them are hemorrhaging radiation 24 hours a day. I don't know about you, but that worries me. That worries me. Worries me sick, because everybody that's in this business would know the significance of doing something stupid like that. How many people think that's an accident, that almost every nuclear power plant is surrounded by farms? Raise your hand and you get a little star to put on your piggy banks. This industry is destroying everybody and everything's future, and they're hitting you from all kinds of directions. It's hard to keep up with it. They've been dumping into the ocean for 3 decades before some people say, come on, man. We can't have a future when you're doing that kind of crap. So they said, well, he'll go away and we'll get back to work. And that's exactly what they've done. Almost every single nuclear power plant I looked up, out of several hundred, would try to get higher shots most times, was shocking that they're all surrounded by farms. I was like, man, what a coincidence. Wait a second. This ain't no coincidence. Oh shit, we're in real trouble. They're hitting you from every corner, by the way. They love you so much. They don't want you to grow old, because that's only for them, apparently. And the father kills all the species, not just same as Agent Orange, you know. So they know these buildings are gone. Let's get back to the stories here. Oh, gone too far. Don't know where I'm to. Oh yeah, let's get a load of this one while we're here. This was 2019, almost 2020. September 2019. Studied the question of disposal of 35.7 million ammunition with a core of depleted uranium. So they wanted to get rid of 357,000 rounds of munitions of depleted uranium so they can make room for bigger, battered depleted uranium munitions. And you might notice they're standing in front of the A-10 Warthog that only shoots dirty bombs. This is what these things are. These are 12-inch long dirty bombs. They're pyrophoric. They burn as they're going through the air. They cover everything with fallout on the way to their trajectory at very liquefied speeds. And they slice through everything, particularly school buses and churches and houses and apartment complexes. The all-American boy, right? A patriotic American. Calm Down Charlie t-shirts are on sale. They're excellent. Great colors, lots of different sizes. Everybody could be Calm Down Charlie for a day. Yoshida Mashada. Tokyo Barrel. 10 years, man. For 10 years, that sack of shit was calling me Some years, every single day, dozens of times each day, and at night during a show. Mashita, Mashata. I didn't block them for years. Everybody used to get really upset. Block them! I want to see how crazy these people are. I was studying like a lab rat for 10 years. And I get it now. They hate our guts. You had 10 years to learn. If you don't learn in 10 years, that says a lot, doesn't it? During the process, the International Atomic Energy Agency apparently conducted an in-depth inspection of all the performances of the Alps. This is their 4th time they ever went to the plant since 2012. Come back to that one in 2 more. Discharge of treated wastewater nearly has no impact on humans and the environment. So shut your freaking pie hole, lawyers. The International Atomic Energy Agency included situations similar to the cases in which coordinated water from normal operation of nuclear disease factories in other countries is treated. It's top secret though, Dan. We can't show anybody. Yeah. Pre-development work starts on Bruce Power's large-scale nuclear build. I covered that last night. I forgot to mention. That's on Lake Huron, which is the 3rd biggest lake of fresh water on the entire planet. And these reactors are vicious. The one in New Brunswick releases 16,400,000 trillion becquerels a year of tritium. They can't contain it. And they've been running for like 40 years. They're releasing it all day, every day. And this is only a fraction of what's really getting out. And we're not talking about binge releases that they've had. Mashada. Cooling Fukushima possible after connection to the grid. See that one before? All 6 of the Fukushima reactors were connected to the grid. That's 10 days later. These guys are savages, eh? The buildings actually look like that. No, they're connected to the grid, Dana. Mashada, Tokyo, blah. In Chicago. I called a number 10 years ago, a number of times, during live shows, and we were getting on the air playing it. We were getting the Japanese embassy in Chicago. Mashada. So the buildings actually look like that. It's hard to appreciate it. So look at that. Then think about what a normal one would look like with that contraption on it. This was a Kevlar sarcophagus they used to contain summer reactor 1 emissions for 5 years. So when you look at that, you got to realize that's how big that chunk is you're looking at, right? And what's missing from that chunk? So if you take that chunk and then look at it this way and say, well, that's what's missing. Everything above the bottom of the screen is what's missing. Machida, Mashada, thank you very much for that one tonight. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have showed that one. So the buildings originally looked like that. Reactor 4 to your left and number 3 to your right. And this is opposite, number 3 to your left, number 4 to your right. And this is it's less than that, right? You agree with me? It's less than that. And this is what it should look like. And when it looks like that, it means there's no fuel pools left, because the fuel pools are at the very top of the building, and the top of the building is gone. So the only thing you see in there is that. And that, there's nothing functional. The only reason they're doing that, they put covers on these and pretended they got the fuel out of the pool, despite the fact that the only thing left was the stump of it. It was 150 feet wide, and it was it's 50 meters wide and 65 meters tall, 190 feet tall. That ain't tall. Think you're just being an asshole? No, I'm not. I'm just trying to say, look at it. I'm so negative all the time. What's wrong with you people? Maybe I was a little, it's true. Japan in a frantic bid to cool reactors. But it's only equal to 3 grams of sugar, Dana, so these guys are all fear-mongering, obviously. Another nuclear scientist told Al Jazeera the Japanese authorities are thinking of bringing in retired workers to the plant because they have a short lifetime left. They're disposable because they look like that. Well, they actually looked like that when they made that statement. Moosies. And we went through that. This was the original stuff. Let me move past that. So the numbers we're talking about is 2.2 grams in 1,000 tanks that are on the site. Unfortunately, nobody's ever seen the picture, a single picture, a lousy friggin' picture, a stupid picture, not a single. Dan, it wouldn't hurt to have a picture about now. I know, right? What the hell did I do with that? Oh. All the crazies every day. Yeah, no, it's actually equal to 2.2 grams, but you need 1,000 tanks. These are pretty big tanks. These are supposed to be 1,000-ton tanks each. And that's why some of them will tell you they got 1,200, right? But we counted them in every different angle. And these are not 1,000-ton tanks, by the way, but we counted them too, because we're nice like that. We counted everything. We looked at everything. We know all the sizes. So when we look at pictures, then we can tell you what kind of tonnage. They even claimed but that's the Dynie plant. Media's natty boys. The Arriva system, 2014, they can't bring the contaminated water issues under control. The tanks were built hastily to hold highly contaminated water, which led to a variety of leaks. What they're talking about, 2.2 sieverts of bettas per liter. That's a lethal. You can't get near a leak like that ever again. And everything's permanently. So when we look at all the weird angles, we still can, max we can get, including all the small tanks, is, right, if you include the small tanks, 750 tanks. And the only pictures we really see is people just walking around in paper suits. Look at what he stood up at attention, like a good little zombie, pro-nuclear zombies. They're so cute. Everybody should have a pet pro-nuclear zombie. You should be doing that right now. They're very, very tricky. Be very, very careful. But in all of these tanks and the whole site that I showed you, we should find some great shot. Let me find one great shot. I imported a fraction of it, but they claimed that was Fukushima too, by the way. I already know what that one was. I know. We haven't got, what am I saying? We haven't even got a great shot of Fukushima nuclear site. I can't show you a great shot of Fukushima. I'll show you these weird shots like this, as close as we'll get. And when you zoom in on it, being generous, there's 750 tanks. But the official story is, in those 750 tanks, they're going to say 1,000. We'll give them the extra 250. They could be invisible, like reactor 3 and 4 fuel pools, right? It could be. You don't know. You can't say. The former prosecutor, a presidential hopeful, had said that there was no radiation leaks at Fukushima last year, was it? 2021. There was no leaks at destroyed reactors. Have a nice day. Despite all the evidence, there was no leak. Leaky. Let me get back down to the news here. La 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 la. We were shown these pictures last night. This is a super condensed version. 2020, the 10th anniversary, rather, 2021. These pictures were released a few months before. I think it was January, actually. And I found them on a Chinese website, but nobody's ever looked at them. So when I zoomed in, quickly, these were all from a drone. It was 736 or something. When I zoomed in, to my horror, all the reactors were redacted. They were pixelated. This reactor 1, reactor 4 is right here, and common spent fuel pool is over there. Got just like 8 or 9 of them. I got them condensed down. Reactor 2, everything is reactor 1, reactor 3, reactor 4. Let me just show it to you now, so you can't be mistaken. So this is the common spent fuel pool. That's all redacted. That's reactor 4. It's all redacted. That's reactor 3 redacted. Reactor 3, rather, that's redacted. In between it is redacted or pixelated. Same thing with reactor 2. And I just showed you reactor 1, right? And reactor 1 was pixelated. So the common spent fuel pool had reactor cores from all the reactors, and every tsunami came straight through it. And so it lost its inventories. We're almost to the news cycle again. Now, that was the common dry storage site, and we got inside pictures of this place. As you can see, the wreckage way up above it included. Tsunami ran right through it. It washed who knows how many of these KAIST with tens of thousands of tons of fuel rods out into the Pacific Ocean. Well, don't worry. They're like, they can withstand the plane crash. This is behind the pixelated reactor is reactor 6, and over there is the venting stack, and up here is the pump house. Everything is redacted. How come everything is redacted? Why would you redact everything? I need that information desperately, because when I look at the unredacted reactor 3 and the unredacted reactor 4, so 4, nobody's, as if somebody's actually physically going to go there with a paper suit on and survive it. This was an unusual angle of the site. These are very, TEPCO is brutally deceptive when it comes to releasing pictures. So that's reactor 1. This is pre-2015 because reactor 1 still got this Kevlar sarcophagus on it. That's put there by panels, by remote control cranes. Reactor 2, the stump of reactor 3 and reactor 4, cover story. So the panels you can see are great big panels. Pretty magic what happens. So you put all these panels on it, and it is just a stump, right? There's nothing really left. So you build this contraption. It doesn't physically touch reactor's stump, as you can see. So you build this incredible, weird, bizarre-looking and you put these panels on it. They're hung there with gravity. This was all designed off-site. That's the whole process. And then, alakabam, alakazoo. Everything is perfect. Seth Dorn was there himself. He said it was like getting a chest x-ray. You heard him. I played the video for you earlier. No, Dana, he's not in the fuel pool. Okay, but hey, don't say that out loud. You get in real trouble telling that story. Yeah, it's very, very difficult to take them seriously. Experts weigh in on the Fukushima radio. Are you kidding me? Experts weigh in. Okay, really? Experts, you say? Oh, that's touching. That's not even tanks. These containers is where they allegedly are holding the sediment from the filters. They're overloaded. I got a little leak here. I got to fix it over. I got to turn the welder on there. Like, that needs to be 6 feet thick to protect you from the fuel material, from the neutron bombardments. You won't get that close to it. And they have a whole bunch of them stacked up there. Oh, and they got the hoses running from them. That's nice. Get some vats and put the cover on and get some hoses there and make it look all official. The IAEA said they'll pull it off. Don't worry about it. Just get lots of props on your site. The director of the University of Hawaii's Kiwalo Marine Laboratory visited Fukushima last year. Here's something like that. He described the experience as the Hunger Games meet the apocalypse and hell. He said there's no proof it's bad because they have no proof of anything. So TEPCO currently lacks the information necessary to make a safe plan because they got no proof it's bad. I've actually heard that one. It's not as good as the 3 grams of sugar, but it's pretty good. That's pretty good. Well, we got no proof, George. So we got no proof it's bad because you got all these puppets out there writing studies saying it's like a banana on a potato chip and walking in the sunshine. You bring that to the table and say, well, that's an academic. You think, George, they're going to lie to people? It's approved. It's peer-reviewed, George. It's bulletproof. They're gone to war against us. Holy shit. You say there's no proof it's bad because they have no proof of anything. The whole conversation. That's quite the conversation on its own. I don't like it at all. Richmond and his colleagues says, like, there's better alternatives to discharging the water. Gone. They had 5 choices. 4 of them was discharging it, and 1 of them was putting it in a hole in the ground. Are you going to say all these academics are stupid and you're right, Richmond? Are you? You got any idea how quick your tenor is going to be knocked off? The industry is completely maniacal. I don't think they have a single sane person working in the nuclear industry. I've never seen any example of somebody that was actually sane in the nuclear industry. Richmond does not trust TEPCO to follow expert advice. Yeah, there's an understatement. TEPCO is trying to find a way to get it out of their backyard. So he's promoting the tritiated water fable. It's too bad. Maybe if you've seen this picture, that would change his life. Or the people that wrote the story's lives. But I've done radio shows in Hawaii. Poor Hawaii is all I can say is right up there in the middle of the radiated Pacific. We got a huge folder. I've done entire shows on just Hawaii. The numbers were over there were crazy the first year because of the tsunami debris was covered in radioactive fallout. Fuel pellets actually landed on it. Fears over release of Fukushima tainted water persist. Like fly bites in the summer. They'll go away in the fall. pretty sure the nuclear industry will make everybody... They'll just give up and stop reporting on it. That'll be the end of the debate. We'll still be here. I was thinking of getting a padded room for when I'm not doing my shows. I don't hurt myself, you know. Bloomberg market. So this is Bloomberg. That's reassuring. They don't hate your guts. Treated. The minute you see the word treated in the conversation, and that's all you're going to see. We cover it every day. Has got so many people concerned despite assurances around its safety. Well, he said it was like a banana. What do you want him to do, George? Spewing radiation into the air. The worst nuclear accident since Chernobyl. Chernobyl was a single reactor. It was nothing compared to this one because it's pure uranium, pure plutonium. Worst case scenario of evacuation Tokyo never came to pass. Oh, they were talking about it. We covered lots. And they should have, obviously, because the radioactive fallout in Tokyo was atrocious. Tokyo is not livable. Neither is Japan, right? Hang on. We'll get there together. Oh, Tokyo. Come on, Tokyo. Bring it on. Bring on the flood. It's coming to life. Hang on, we're almost there. Oh, slow down. Oh my God. Where'd all that come from? I like to get the little folder that I got because there's so much. It's like walking in a candy shop. If I can get it to stop long enough. Rain caused 29 million becquerels square meter in the soil. South Korea was 1,000 times above normal. So Tokyo, you can never get rid of it. That's just a single rainfall they're talking about. And the government is going to downplay the shit out of the real numbers. Science concluded radiation from 2011 didn't lead to deaths and wouldn't cause widespread damage to human health. Stop your fear-mongering already. That's a pretty big lie on its own, isn't it? Never caused no deaths. What about the victims, really? Yeah, what about that, Dana? What about the 865,000 extra cancers in the first year? Because, everybody in Japan has health care. Everybody got diagnosed right away because health care is so fluid. Treat it. Guess where that conversation is going? Tritium, right? So there's an amazing amount of propaganda, right, targeting all these countries because we gathered up International Atomic Energy Agency. All of them should be put down in a pit after legalese and everything and disposed of like tritium. Public opposition has emerged in South Korea despite the government backing Japan's water release plan. Backing South Korea is once. Now, there's headlines of today: South Korea nuclear renaissance. No incentive there, just cut your throat. On a scientific base, but imagine what they're saying in their own language to the population. If we're finding out they're talking about 3 grams of sugar is all that got out of multiple melted reactors. Right? That takes the cake, though, for evil, don't it? .2 grams got it, but don't worry, it's in the 1,000 tanks, right? And that's going to get released over 30 years or so at 0.062 grams a year. Because nothing got out. Look for yourself. Stop being gullible. Look for yourself. Nothing got out. Hong Kong becomes China's wolf warrior in Fukushima water fight. Water fight. Well, water fight. So they create all these different topics about the water, right? All these controversies, rather, about the water. Because that sounds like fighting words to me. So did 3 grams of sugar cubes was the total sum of what got out of these missing massive reactor buildings. Treated, even though the International Atomic Energy Agency said, hey, you got the green light, of course, we know how they flip-flopped immediately in the next sentence. We're not condoning it, we're not saying no. But you're a regulatory agency. Well, we're there to get the facts. Did you get your own samples? No. Well, no. You got to build up a trust. So they gave us the samples, Dana. That makes sense. Thank God for the International Atomic Energy Agency. Got our 6s. Hours after creepy Rafael Mariano Grossi defended the agency's approval as scientifically sound. Yeah, look. What's Grossi doing? What are they going to do with Grossi after this tenor is over at the International Atomic Energy Agency? Put him back in a box and stick him on a shelf? Hopefully. Hong Kong is the number 2 importer, because that's where these people come from, right? Hong Kong is the number 2 importer of Japanese food product, only after China, the mainland, which is China. Yeah, all I had to do was say, what Fukushima? I got this fancy soup, big suite, hotel rooms. I got sunshine on a cloudy day. Get them a pair of shoes to make them this tall. In contrast, the mainland completely bans food imports from 10 Japanese prefectures. You're stupid if you don't ban food from everything in Japan. You can have leukemia next Friday if you start eating that shit. 865,000 extra cancers in the first year. You got any idea how many is not diagnosed? How many don't have health care? There's 1,800 other diseases. If the treated water is actually released into the sea, get it? If the treated water, so it's all, so the focus is on everything is in the water. It's magic. Ooh, magic. Kind of like magic. So if it's all in the tanks, why did all the countries worldwide make these models? What's up with that shit? If the treated water is released in the sea, it's going to destroy their reputation. Instead of them becoming mass murderers, genocidal maniacs, by poisoning you on the dinner table, through reputational damage is unavoidable. Bastards. So it looks like they're cooking up a scheme. Eventually Japan says, well, we're not going to release it into the water. Because they had 5 options. 4 was releasing it into the environment. 1 was dumping it in the ground. So they're going to dump it in the ground somewhere. They're going to announce that. They got to build up more resistance, though. They got to have the world mad at them. And the world then got to celebrate they didn't kill all the oceans on the planet with their releases. Everybody can go back to buying too many lottery tickets and eating fast food. And buying shit for Valentine's and Christmas. And all the other holidays your loving government brings you each year. And being a good citizen and spending all you can at the mall. Staff shifted gear to counter the authorities' narrative and protect the interests of those selling Japanese food products in Hong Kong. Protect the interests of those selling Japanese nuclear fallout food in Hong Kong. DP urges, which is the Democratic Party of South Korea, urges Jun, which the day after became the president, went to a nuclear plant and had his picture taken and shoved up on the world's media, to demand Japan withhold the Fukushima water release plan during the NATO summit, which is 28 militaries. They're like the little New World Order. They're not that little, but they're like the little New World Order compared to UN, which is the New World Order. This is the military-industrial complex, right? 195. This disgusting, despicable, hideous, monstrous, hateful parasite still not as bad as the guacamole we got for our poll tonight. A South Korea professor, the scum of the earth, I should say, nuclear Yun Jong-il, claims that Fukushima is equal to 3 grams of sugar, and an evil, evil lie. It could be an evil lie. It could be 2 Danas. It could happen. You see, yeah, no, it's only tritium. It's like a banana. Don't listen to Durnford. He's really something. They took him out of some retirement home, stuck his teeth back in his face, and put the camera on it. Oh no, they forgot to do that part there. Yeah, no, it's harmless. They got this maggot to his left. Thank God that was it. But Tony, why do you hate humanity so much? You can see he was like a pet dog, wanted to get her to take a pee. So every time you looked at him, he was like that. Except he wasn't cute. Fukushima contaminated water. South Korea experts know food security concerns could lead to another no Japan movement. Well, you had it the first time. Why did you stop? The last thing you want is anything from Japan. The IAEA chiefs visit to Korea fails to quell concerns about Fukushima wastewater dumping. You see a whole lot of those types of connotations. He goes back to his hotel room each night and cries, right? And his pillow. Nobody believes me. I should have got those elevator boots. Grossi gave individual interviews to 5 media organizations, had closed-door talks with members of the government. That's not sedition at all. Just goes around the world telling everybody what to do, how to think, how to act. Hey, kiss the ring. Get on one knee and kiss the ring. We'll stomp you out. Very few things that cheer me up as much as this t-shirt that we got up on our website. Fukushima Meltdown. Calm down, Charlie. Limited time. It's a limited time. Yoshida Mashada. Tokyo, Bill, Chicago. A.K.A. Calm Down, Charlie. 10 years of stalking. And some of his famous one-liners. You can get them all right here at my website. The link's right below. Yo, scammer. You filthy liar. You sick bastard. You sick bastard. And even on the back, so all your friends can learn Charlie's. And we also have long-sleeve shirts. If you live in a area with a bit of a nip in the air, we got different colors. I like the greens, you filthy liar. No, that's true, I like the blue. You filthy scammer. You filthy scammer. I'm trying to figure out how many grams of sugar is in a fuel rod. I finally lost it. They finally got to me. I can't think anymore. He's going all over the place to to tell everybody how to think. Don't worry. You shut your mouth. He's going to quell criticism. But however, his tour has done little to quell criticism of tritium. Quite the scam they got going on. Nobody believes me. The tritium won't hurt the ocean. And then a journalist stands up and says, "What about this, you filthy scammer? The buildings are gone. You already destroyed the oceans." Grossi, I'd like to emphasize the release of the treated water stored at Fukushima Disaster nuclear power station, which that stopped about 12 years ago, is a national decision by the government of Japan. See what he just done there? He just removed himself from the equation. I would like to emphasize that the releases of the treated water stored at the Fukushima Daiichi power station is a national decision by the government of Japan. Well, get the fuck out of the nuclear industry while you're at it. Get out of Japan. Get out away from the reactors. Don't go back, you degenerate monster. You disgusting monsters. Treated a national decision by the government. And that this report is neither a recommendation nor an endorsement. Bases covered. Check. Woo! He stuck it to you guys. I like to emphasize, look up the word emphasize, that the release of the treated water stored at the Fukushima Daiichi power station, not nuclear meltdown site, is a national decision, a federal decision by a handful of bureaucrats that are currently considered the government of Japan. Oh, and that this report neither a recommendation nor an endorsement of that policy, he wrote. Check, please. No. In my Swiss checking account, thank you very much. However, throughout his visit to Korea, Grossi made comments that appear to actively defend the discharge, like calling the contaminated water treated by the, I can't believe we're having this conversation 12 years later, the Alps water, and claiming that you can drink the water and swim in it. She shut your mouth. In an interview with some Korean batshit lunatic media, yeah, drink it, do whatever you want, because there's nothing in the tanks. We're not putting radiation in the tanks, you won't be able to get back on the site. Here, have some water. Grossi looks natural, don't he? Let's see. Ow, that hurts my neck. Grossi looks like he's doing some weird shit, what he asked me. What a name. I noticed he didn't get beat up in school constantly. And Grossi. Hey, Gross, come here. I bet you never heard that one before. What the fishermen are worried about is not the science behind the discharge, but their own reputation. Implications is that Japan's fishers are not looking for scientific proof of safety. He dismissed the International Atomic Energy Agency's original plan by stating the agency doesn't have to check everything in response to criticism, but the fact that the final report was released with only preliminary results from the analysts of the contaminated water samples. It was just one sample. It didn't have the report. And TEPCO gave it to him. TEPCO went to a local mud puddle, took out some water, and gave it to Grossman. He said, "Here you go, amigo." He also waved away questions about neutrality as coming from people who don't like nuclear power. They're anti-nuclear, for God's sakes. And because, they're just mean people. They're anti-nuclear. In an interview with Hahn Pil-soo, nice name, you guys are fantastic. He also waved away questions about IAEA neutrality as coming from people who don't like nuclear power. I don't like nuclear power. You don't like nuclear power. Because the meeting was held behind closed doors, it's unclear what exactly was discussed between Grossi and the bureaucrats. God help us. Guide gives 311 Museum a human touch. So this poor young kid who doesn't know nothing about nuclear was coerced into going into a nuclear wasteland just 2 kilometers away from ongoing multiple nuclear meltdowns. And the building you're looking at, how much do you think that cost them to build? Anybody want to throw out an estimate? I'm going to wait and see if anybody can guess how much that building cost. Because, I'm that kind of a guy, right? Meanwhile, while I'm waiting, the South Korea professor of nuclear, Yun Jong-il, claims that Fukushima is equal to 3 grams of sugar. Evil lie. That's a lie. Anybody? Yeah, if somebody said no, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Are you claiming it's like 3 grams of sugar? Is the nuclear industry that pathetic they're going to use shit like that? Let's see if anybody got in there. Did you see the shirt, Charlie? 53 million. Nancy Sand wins first prize, which is 5 buckets of horse crap. You got to bring your own lids, Nancy. They're ready for pickup. James ordered his in green. That's so awesome, man. Yeah, because I would have ordered a green too. Grossi recommended to not fight war next to the Big Sea, which I think is a pretty brilliant. He's way ahead of everybody else, that Grossi. Raphael, yeah, $53 million. They stole it, Dan. No, it's honest. It cost $53 million. Every nickel is accounted for. That's 2 kilometers away from the ongoing meltdowns in the other direction. It's amazing. You can see where all the money went. And $53 million is not a lot of money anymore. It's located in this ghost town, right alongside. It's joined to the hip with Fukushima nuclear plant. The other side is Okuma. And so the nuclear plant is joined to both communities that have been abandoned for 12 years. So what they decided to do was take 14 million one-ton bags of radiation into this place here, clear out a spot, and dump it out and grow food in it for consumption. They even put it on the news. Yeah, people say this is a stupid idea, but hey, we're the government. We don't like you, so we do whatever. Michael Bleebley, Japan F-word rears its head again. Think of that kind of arrogance. Japan's Fukushima. He's a pretty despicable creature, I'll tell you what. Wastewater. No doubt you remember the earthquakes, tsunami, nuclear reactor meltdowns. No doubt. Yeah, well, don't remind us, you're the journalists. Explosions in 3 reactors released an estimated 538 petabecquerels. 538, which is about assembly, one single assembly. which weighs 1,800 pounds. There's around 10 million pounds missing out of each building. And they had a hydrogen explosion, Dan. Really? Really? It was not the worst disaster in recent history, really. Multiple reactors melting down with decades of reactor cores that were at the top of the building melted down and disappeared, evaporated, or atomized and aerosoled and released into the environment. And chain reactions against China's syndrome. The volume of radiation was about 1/10 of that unleashed in the Chernobyl meltdown in 1986. So you're saying Chernobyl, which was a small graphite reactor, was worse than 4 massive Fukushima reactors that had fuel pools, 2 fuel pools at the top of each of the reactor buildings are gone, 8 fuel pools with decades of reactor cores stuffed in there because they don't have a repository anywhere on the planet, let alone Japan, is gone. It's still not equal to Chernobyl. It's only 1/10 to Chernobyl. I'm sorry that your mother used to kick the shit out of you all your life. You shouldn't take it out on us. We didn't do nothing to you, you piece of shit. Japan's Fukushima discharge plant is selfish. China knows, like, there's zero chance that whoever wrote the story doesn't know this is what the reactors look like. And you know what? If you don't come here, you won't see that picture anywhere else. Yep. Oh, to be a crazy pro-nuclear scumbag. Japan's Fukushima discharge plant is selfish. It's selfish. The Japanese government only cares when it can get rid of the trouble, says Mayo. Who the freak is going to argue with him, by the way, from China? It doesn't care about what efforts other countries will have to make and how many resources need to invest and what risk they'll bear to respond to the water release, which hasn't stopped going into the Pacific for at least 12 years, 600 different isotopes a minute of massive amounts hemorrhaging out of the earth. The releases that covered the planet in just 15 to 20 days. Spectacular. Oh my. So gas, oil, and coal emissions don't pulse energy at speed of light every second. They won't make plumes that covers the planet. You won't find a single plume model of gas, oil, coal plants breaking down and the plumes cover the planet and they pulse energy every second for millions of years. And every day there's another plume. There's a continuous plume. So imagine if you had a snowstorm covering the entire planet after 40 days and then it never stops snowing and the snow never goes away. You fucking get it right then, wouldn't you? You Fukushima get it right then. So flip that and say it's invisible. You can't see it or smell it or hear it or feel it or taste it or perceive it, pick it up or throw rocks at it. But it's there. It's pulsing energy at the speed of light. It's wrecking everything's chromosomes, DNA, the cells, the organs. It's causing lesions in the organs of all the species and all the humans. And that leads to around 1,800 diseases. It compromises your immune system. If it's in your body, it's pulsing energy every second. Your body got to repair it. And it's got to displace the red blood cells for the white blood cells to be able to do that. But it never goes away. It's not like a cut that heals. So the radiation is in your body. It's pulsing energy every second. It's wrecking all your immediate DNA and chromosomes and cells and organs and glands. And for children, the glands get saturated into producing radioactive hormones. This gets into their stem cells because they're developing. and mutate their stem cells, and it's downhill from them for the rest of their life, and this will manifest in all kinds of long-term illnesses like heart problems, liver problems, lung problems, respiratory, pituitary, thyroid, adrenaline, Alzheimer's, dementia, autism, diabetes, Down syndrome, schizophrenia. So they're promoting, here you get the leaders of all these countries saying, oh, don't discharge it into the ocean. It was like, if reactor 4 collapses, bye-bye Japan should evacuate the west coast of North America. Let's go look for that. Buster Rush. Evil's not going to take a day off. I feel guilty taking a day off, right? So I'm fixing a hole on the Zodiac currently. Oh, it's a leak. There's around 7 of them. And so I got the material applied to that. Tomorrow I'll coat a patch and put a patch on it to try to end that. Because it weeps out over a couple of days, but after 2 days it'll start getting soft. You're going to have to add air to it. You don't have to, but we got freakish weather down here. Onshore winds, got nice ground swells crashing at the points. You're not getting that. This is what they call the Cape and weather. Very excited that they're going to show up. Hopefully they show up. They haven't. I've heard the rumors of them being on some of the local accessible beaches. Somewhere in the next couple of days, even maybe tomorrow if the weather breaks, I'm going to be out there investigating it. Let me see what we got here. We're close. This is David Suzuki, and he's saying that if that building collapses like this, well, I'll let you tell me. So he's saying if that happens to the right,
3 out of the 4 plants were destroyed in the earthquake and in the tsunami. The 4th one has been so badly damaged that the fear is if there's another earthquake of a 7 or above, that building will go, and then all hell breaks loose. I have seen a paper which says that if, in fact, the 4th plant goes under an earthquake and those rods are exposed, it's bye-bye Japan, and everybody on the west coast of North America should evacuate. Now, if that isn't terrifying, I don't know what.
I don't know what is. The UN Secretary General says, no exaggeration, to say the fate of Japan and the whole world depends on the number 4 reactor. So if that gets destroyed, like to your left, then the fate of the world is in. Now, officially, this never happened. 450,000 times above detection levels after Fukushima persisted for weeks. That's one of the few places you definitely don't want to be living. Effort is in danger of failing. So you got the UN Secretary General saying that the fate of the world depends on number 4. We got one of the most iconic faces in Canada saying the same thing. And Arnie Gunnison was saying the same thing. Of course, Arnie is a filthy liar. Former ambassador, number 4 reactor, top national security issue for the entire world, could start the ultimate catastrophe. Oh. There's number 4. So now they're talking about the tritium going in the water with the same hype, right? That they done about reactor 4. They totally faked it. And now they're going to fake the water. It's never stopped going in. There's no way to contain it. The water is too lethal. If you fill up the tank, you can't get back on the site and build a whole bunch of other tanks. The tanks need to be 12 feet thick lead. And the problem is putting in fuel particulates. That'll sink to the bottom. You've got neutrons and everything mixing. Then you're going to have a chain reaction. It'll burn a hole through the tanks like you see at Hanford. Hanford dumped 1.4 million tanks into the soil. And they got everybody scared, worried, sick about 177 tanks. But they dumped the same 300,000 pound or gallon tanks. They dumped 1.4 million of them into the soil in the 50s, which runs downhill to the Columbia, and they have winters, heavy snow in the winters there to push a lot of that in each year into the Columbia, which feeds tens of thousands of farms downstream and millions of people. It's a scumbag industry. The world is going to have to go to war, and they better wake up. You're running out of time. We are so far down the rabbit hole, it's not funny. And that this is 80 years of scumbaggery and mass genocide, omnicide. It's time to act. It's now or never. So I'm doing the best I can to try to at least have a conversation with at least 20 people every night. And that this report is neither a recommendation nor an endorsement of the policy. He's really good at saying those fables, isn't he? Isn't that such a weird statement? He's going to visit Korea, fails to quell concern. It's a national decision by the Japanese, and the report is neither a recommendation nor an endorsement. And that this is a national decision by the government of Japan. How much clearer can Grossi tell you that they are not a regulatory agency? Really, what do you need for that to sink in, I wonder? For anybody on the fence, of course, not to anybody regular around here, I would imagine. That's what I would ask anybody if I had the opportunity. Oh, we already done that one. I've done that one. By George, I think we're getting there. Terrible truths exposed about nuclear energy. Karl Grossman. He got a great name, perfect name, Gross. It's like Grossi, he's gross. He's a professor too. A new documentary, the Fukushima Disaster, the hidden side of the story. It features Dr. Helen Caldicott. And the guy who done a documentary on me back in the day. He didn't run it though, because when he suggested he put me with Helen Caldicott and Arnie Gunnarsson, I told him not a chance. But he was going to put it in the theaters, and like he's doing with this one. It's in the theaters, it's in Amazon, it's everywhere. Hang on. This is not rocket scientist. Here we go. You don't want to screw it up because... yeah. Here's Helen Caldicott. We got to chop down to the essentials. She's being asked, does the reactor 4 look like the one on the right or the one on the left in a radio interview? Because people are claiming it looks like the left. She's done hundreds of these interviews.
Let me ask you this. You've said that if the spent fuel pool in number 4 collapses, that you would evacuate your family from Boston. Do you think we would ever know the truth of what's going on there? And the reason I ask is because we've seen coverage in the national news media here in the United States from ABC News and others that take video cameras in, saying that they're being given exclusive access to number 4 in the removal of the fuel rods, which is said to have begun. And what we see in the video being shared here in America is a pristine interior building. It doesn't look like a building in which the top blew off in a hydrogen explosion.
The Japanese are very tidy people, and they have by robot control and by human beings removed the debris from the top of building 4, and it does look pristine.
But it doesn't. So then Arnie Gunnarsson is in the same documentary. Here's Arnie.
Unit 4.
Now Arnie built the racks for the assemblies for over 70 of those exact reactors.
Was damaged twice. It was damaged by.
I was talking about Unit 4.
By all of the earthquakes that occurred, and it was also damaged by a series of explosions over the first week or two of the accident.
Okay, and so you see where his video was. That's the fuel, one of the two fuel pools, and you can see the exact model is next to the original building. There's a lot of work for Dana.
So the building is structurally weakened.
Looks pretty structurally weakened and sound and weakened to me.
Now, Tokyo Electric's acknowledged that. They went in.
They went in there. Hang on to the flashlight, George. I'm going in. Tell Mama I loves her.
In May and June of last year.
Oh, she's a pretty reactor.
Just more than a year ago. And put an enormous number of extra structural supports directly under the fuel pool to keep the bottom of the pool from breaking through.
Yeah, I can see that. They sacrificed 260,000 people to do it, Dana. Just like the ice wall. So Yoshi Shimatsu, I've done a radio show most Sundays with him, with the Rinse Network, for 2 years or so. If I wasn't on the ocean or something. I was on the ocean 4 to 5 months a year each time. And Yoshi wrote an article, Thumbs Down for Durnford. Thumbs down for Durnford. Let's see here. Da-da-da-da-da. How come the nuclear industry loves you folks so much? Have you ever asked yourself that? Because they want to make sure you get lots of radiation into you and your children's bodies. You can buy lots of pharmaceuticals and spend lots of money on health care, but you can't win the battle. Let me try this again. Hang on. La 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 la. I want to see something. Oh, it is going to do that. One second here. Just got to look up something. I'll share it with you in a minute. La 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 la. There we go. We're almost there. Last word. And might have wasted everybody's time, but let's give it a try. Oh, got lucky. Thumbs Down for Durnford is a grotesque attack on environmentalism. Wednesday, 21st September 2016, goes down as the darkest hour total eclipse for justice in Canada and environmental causes throughout the Northern Hemisphere. The guilty verdict against Dana Durnford is a perversion of the legal norms that condemns the Canadian government to being the great banana republic of the North and a slavish servitude to the global nuclear industry and its own uranium mining profiteers. The greatest beneficiary of this heinous court decisions are the Japanese investors in the Canadian uranium, TEPCO Hitachi. While 3 years probation may seem lenient, it's not overt attempt to muzzle his criticism in regard to the effects of Fukushima releases and crimp any donations for his scientific research. It has a chilling effect on his anti-nuclear cause and the larger environmental movement, along with dampening the concerns of affected residents in the Western. And the long, dragged-out legal procession. It was a slap suit they done against me, basically. They dragged me into court. The rigged prosecution in Vancouver has proven one thing only, that beyond a shadow of a doubt, Canada's authentic ecological hero is Dana Durnford, who has emerged as a role model for global environmentalism. Friend, colleague, and brother, I salute you for those intrepid oceanic research voyages and for your boundless courage in defense of all the world's precious species, great and small, including our own. Life will triumph eventually thanks to your personal sacrifices and deep knowledge. And let's all stand together with you to protect life on this fragile planet. Yoshi Sumatsu is a forensic investigative journalist and former editor of the Japan Times Group, a good friend of mine. And he rode in to the nuclear wasteland on bicycle with 3 Geiger counters. When he came out, all 3 of them were broke. And 2 weeks later, he had almost no teeth left in his head in protest. So they married up a great man like Yoshi Sumatsu with 2 incredible, revolting, degenerate scumbags like Helen Caldicott and Arnie Gunnarsson to give them some street creds so they can tell you more lies. Very, very dishonest. And that the producer won previous awards. In fact, he gave me a copy of one of them, the movies, the Inside the Garbage of the World. And it's Philippe Carillo. He actually flew up when I was out in BC and filmed me for a documentary that never made it. But he had no problem. He got it. The film can be found everywhere. It's on Netflix. It's on Amazon.com. It's everywhere. Arnie Gunnarsson and Helen Caldicott are going to cut your throats everywhere.
Let me ask you this. Dean interior building, it doesn't look like a building in which the top blew off in a hydrogen explosion.
The Japanese are very tidy people, and they have, by robot control and by human beings, removed the debris from the top of Building 4, and it does look pristine.
Nobody can get on top of Unit 4 without dying right away. And Arnie Gunnarsson said people went in and put supports under the fuel pool so the bottom wouldn't crack out.
Here, this is more than a year ago, and put an enormous number of extra structural supports directly under the fuel pool to keep the bottom of the pool from breaking through.
Ooh, it's magic. Asshole of 2023 is not hard to spot. We got a poll on him. We got a poll for the man who's so evil he deserves his own poll. Was South Korea professor of nuclear Yun Jong-il claims that Fukushima is equal to 3 grams of sugar and evil. Woo. Evil, evil lie. What a lie. You liar. Stop lying, liar. Liar's lying again. So we're going to close that poll down as we bid you farewell tonight. We'll be back tomorrow for another night of punishment. In the meantime, you can get your limited editions of Calm Down Charlie's Fukushima Meltdown shirts. You filthy lawyer. You sick bastard. You scammer. These are limited editions. I'm not going to keep them forever. Maybe I will. And you can also get this model's. And there's two types of greens. One wasn't enough. Charlie has two shades of green. And these are nice, big, in your face. That doesn't start the ball. Who's the filthy liar? Who's the scammer? Well, you're media. And it wasn't for Calm Down Charlie, we'd never come up with such a hot shirt like that. We got to do a shirt of this creature right here. Oh my God. 3 grams of sugar. Like, whoa, you're so evil, man. You make Wade Allison look like a choir boy. Yeah, you know, I was up in the West Coast, and I was talking to my older brother and on the East Coast here, and I asked him, what's the latest news down there in the medias? And he said, it sounded like you're saying a joke, right? How come there's no more midnight mass, Dana? I said, I don't know. He said, well, all the priests got to be back in jail by 11 o'clock. He said, what are you laughing at? That's the headline here tonight in Newfoundland. They had to sell all the graveyards, all the dioceses, the churches, to pay for all the victims, which was just a fraction. Many had already killed themselves and moved away a long time ago, were never identified, right? They were vicious. Well, the nuclear industry has the exact same attributes, except they're worse. Imagine that, they're actually worse. They just want to kill you. They don't like you or anybody else. What kind of, like, Raphael Grossi, you look at him, right? And whenever the wind is over 35 kilometers, you're probably not allowed outdoors. You sick bastard. You sick blastard. Yeah. It's true. Let me close this down before the browser running a little hot. They're freezing on me. I think we're okay here now. All right, so we got 39 votes. We're going to close it down. Was South Korea's professor of nuclear, Yun Jong-il, claimed that Fukushima is equal to 3 grams of sugar, an evil, evil lie. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Good night, everybody. Hugs for everybody. Have a great night. A great day tomorrow. See everybody tomorrow night. Back to the madness. And this is the only movement we've seen on Fukushima in 10 years. So there's obvious Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, and China are working together to pull off this hoax. And they're hoping the rest of the world will get upset. And then Japan can rush in and say, okay, we won't dump it in the great big ocean and destroy humanity's future. And that's all they've done. There is no filtration system. There's nothing in the tanks. It's been hemorrhaging out non-stop for 12 years. And nobody's allowed to try to stop it. Japan will let nobody in there, including the IAEA. You sick bastard. La, 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 da, da. Yeah, I forgot that it was time to renew the registration on all the equipment we got. Ow, again today. Look looking for a blank picture. Here we go. Blank. See everybody tomorrow night. Be careful of the sugar. Don't let it get in the ocean, for Christ's sakes. Bloody stuff. That's why all the whales are emaciated. Millions of birds are showing up emaciated because there's 3 grams of sugar in the Pacific Ocean, folks. You heard it from a professor from South Korea first. God bless them for taking care of us. Great night. Have a great day tomorrow. We'll see everybody on the next crazy show.